So, Henry, let's say that I'm sitting and an obsessive thought, unpleasant thought comes up about a difficult conversation I had the other day, or it makes me feel like that. So you got a couple of choices here. You can take that thought, that unpleasant thought, where the mind is obsessing about something, and you can just forget the breath, forget the body, whatever, and just be mindful of that thought, and know its qualities and characteristics, know its boundaries, get the whole thing, and then of course that means first accepting, acknowledging, and accepting and letting it in. Yeah, that's one thing you can do. I'll get back to that one. Or you can actually say, okay, there's a thought that's coming up. Let me just go back to the breath. Let me redirect it. The mind is pulled away by a distraction or a thought or a hindrance or whatever. Acknowledge it. Thinking, planning, arguing, anger, whatever it is, and then come back to the breath. Sometimes it's enough just to do that and come back to the breath. And then the mind is focused back on the breath, and then you can stay with the breath without being distracted. Other times, this obsessive thought will keep coming back, and then really dukkha is really working there at that point. So it's like, okay, abandon the breath, forget about the breath, and really spend some time with that thought. And the first and foremost is to, especially if the thought has an unpleasant nature, the first and foremost response is to accept it. All right, this is what is happening. Really energetically let it in. And the more that we practice this, as your mindfulness becomes more and more refined, as your concentration becomes more and more pointed, this is a developmental point. It takes some time. But as it does, then your relationship to those thoughts, you'll actually be able to relate to them in a way that you can stay with it. You can somehow hold it, that differentiated awareness of mindfulness, but at the same time, accept it fully by letting it in. Not getting taken off with it. And that means if it's unsatisfactory, know what's happening there. Know that it's unpleasant. Sometimes you'll notice, again, this is with refined mindfulness, you'll notice that with this unpleasantness or dukkha, that the mind just does this. And you're still trying to be mindful of that thought or the distraction, the running away mind. Still trying to be mindful, but it's like you just don't want it. So it's like this. But first you have to accept, okay, my mind is running away. My mind is like a wild horse. Okay, accept that. All right, let's just be with it. And then, and then note, the noting, wandering mind, or running away, or a wild horse, whatever label you want to put on. That's a very helpful label to get a differentiated awareness on it. Still to be and to be with. And then fully let that unsatisfactoriness in. That is how we unfuel the karma. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up now. That's how we unfuel the karma. Anything else is just creating more karma. Yeah, so we can avoid it, we're creating more karma. We can indulge it, we're creating more karma. We can resist it, we're creating more karma. We're adding fuel to that thought. But if we can just differentiate, and it may, when we do that with awareness, with full acceptance, it might become more intense temporarily. But guess what? That fuel is going to burn out if we have this good mindfulness. Fuel is going to burn out and it will pass. It will pass. There's no question about that. So that's skillful working. That's learning how to skillfully work with the object. So the answer is kind of in your question. If the mind is running away with negative thoughts, be with the mind running away and the negative thoughts skillfully. And that begins with the noble practice of acceptance. Accept it as the true nature of